legend. Welcome to the Noob Spearo podcast. My name is Shrek, and I get to interview spearfishing legends from all over the planet. Today, we're talking about an issue that's pretty close to home. We're talking with a former Victoria Fisheries officer about the state of the government's proposed cuts to the fisheries officers in the Victoria area. It's probably an issue close to home for every Spearo, because we're always dealing with issues that affect our fishery management. And it's something that I think we need to take an active part in. And so I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. We chat about some other pretty cool things as well about chasing big fish. And Christine's also an artist, so we talk a bit about a special technique that she uses as well. So hope you enjoy it. Before we get there, I did have a couple of quick shout outs. My mate Stephen sent me something. He said, hey, it'd be great if you could promote this. It's the Dive and Thrive Women's Underwater Festival. Check that out. Type that into Google, and it's on Sunday, June 1st. It's on the Gold Coast. Cool event to get around women just enjoying the underwater world. There'll be freediving instructors there, scuba divers, everything. It's a bit of just a celebration of life underwater, whether you're a Spearo, freediver, scuba diver, doesn't really matter. Dive and Thrive, a Women's Underwater Festival, Sunday, June 1st. Get amongst that. Thanks, Stephen, for pointing that out. And I wanted to do a shout out for the COFS Blue Water Freedivers, a legendary club run by great people. And actually, I met the guy that founded the club more than 30 years ago. They've been doing really cool things. And they're such a great club. My good mate Tom's he's been active for a long time, as have all of his siblings. Shout out to Ollie as well, and Liam. I got to dive with Liam and Tom on the COFS Blue Water Classic, first one I ever made it to. Such a well-run comp. You're allowed to shoot 5 species each day, but the focus is on pelagic species. And this year, Aaron Puckridge took out the seniors and did so in style. And he shot the maximum 5 fish on the Saturday and 5 fish on the Sunday, which was bloody impressive because it wasn't actually a super fishy weekend, despite COFS having a pretty fishy year this year. Scratching up the full 10 species for the weekend was a bloody impressive feat. And I actually got to meet Aaron and have a good chat with him. Nearly jagged an interview with him, but not quite. But anyway, stay tuned for more good Noob Spearo podcasts, and Aaron will be on some days in the future. But again, shout out to the COFS Blue Water Freedivers. Get along to the Classic one year if you can. It's a fantastic competition. Anyway, let's get into today's interview with Christine Watterson. Here we go. This episode of the Noob Spearo podcast is brought to you by Astard Pole Spears. Use the code Noob Spearo for free shipping anywhere in the world. At Astard, they honour the ocean, taking only what they need and leaving it as pristine as the armour have for generations. Check it out at astard.co. Equipped with a slip-tip stainless steel leader, dynamic cord for versatility and durability, made from absolute premium materials, no mucking around, 630 stainless steel, carbon fibre and titanium. Manufactured in Japan, hand-assembled in Australia and Japan, the Astard Roller Pole Spear delivers unmatched performance, combining functionality, durability and tradition. Get into it at astard.co, astard.co. Check it out. Pole spears to just die for. I've got to give you the hot tip. Check them out. Use the code Noob Spearo. Free shipping anywhere on the planet. Check them out. Are you US based? Looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website's so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends. And if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right. Use the code NOOB10, N-O-O-B 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's Noob Spearo podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code Noob Spearo to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom! Hey, g'day guys. Welcome to the Noob Spearo. I'm joined by a former Victorian Fisheries Officer, Christine Watterson. We have actually started this interview a little while ago, and our internet and technology just did not play the game. I don't know if it was because we were talking negatively about the Victorian Fisheries Department and government in general, Christine, but maybe that was it.
Yeah, like I said, they're probably listening in.
Yeah. So Christine joins me because we wanted to discuss the proposed cuts to the Victorian Fisheries Authority that will leave the state's fish stocks, marine parks, and protected wildlife species virtually unprotected and vulnerable to widespread illegal fishing. So, Christine, you were a fisheries officer until last year, and now you've undergone a career change.
Yeah, that's right. So I left fisheries back in August 2024 and I switched over to the maritime industry. And yeah, look, I did that all at a time. It was something I did of my own volition. I had no idea that these cuts were coming to the VFA. So it's very disappointing to hear a very concerning situation at the moment.
Yeah, you mentioned like that there were whispers when you were an officer, maybe 12 months before you ended up leaving the job. How did they sort of trickle down? What were the whispers when you heard it?
So it kind of started out that there was going to be a restructure for the VFA. So position descriptions were going to change slightly. There might have been a change to the sort of ranking system too within the VFA. And the VFA, like the officers, the field staff, have been fairly fortunate over the last few decades. They haven't experienced a huge amount of cuts. So for this to come out of the blue, it's quite devastating to hear about it, and it was just not of the scale that we were anticipating.
So in an article I read about this, you were kind enough to give me a bit of a heads up and send me a few. And by the way, if you're listening and you want to check out any of the stuff we talk about today, I'm going to link it all up. If you go to noobspearo.com/vicfish, that'll be VICFISH. We'll link up some of the stuff. But one of these articles said that there are currently 72 fisheries officers in Victoria. Earlier, you mentioned that maybe that's not quite the case, because from what this article said, they're planning to cut half of those jobs, and there'll be no longer be 72 fisheries officers. There'll be 36 engagement officers, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's right. So, to go off the 73 positions, it's quite misleading because we've been carrying vacancies for quite some time now from people who've just left the job through natural sort of career progression or people who've retired after many decades. And those vacant positions haven't been backfilled and they haven't been recruited for in the last few years. So the VFA has been carrying vacancies for some time, and this has been adding quite a lot of pressure to the existing staff. So to give this idea that it's a 50% reduction, when in fact it's quite significantly more than that.
Yeah, right. This article you sent me from vmpa.org.au, Ms. Hurley is quoted. She says, these officers, fisheries officers, are our eyes and ears on the water, protecting vulnerable species like giant spider crabs during their shallow water migrations, abalone in our intertidal zones, and snapper in our bays. Without adequate enforcement, these species face devastating risks from illegal and unregulated fishing. When in your role as a fisheries officer, you mentioned sort of where you were stationed previously. What was your sort of average encounter on a day? Was like a friend of mine said that you were a pretty fair and even-handed officer, and you liked to focus on education rather than just handing out fines willy-nilly. I understand there's a lot of discretion in these sort of roles, but how did 9 out of 10 sort of interactions go with people that you encountered in your role as an officer?
Yeah, it's a good question. Each day was very different to the next, and a lot of that had to do with the sort of conditions, what time of the week it was. But one thing which is really important to note is that the CEO has come out and said that we've got a 90% compliance rate, which in quite a few aspects isn't true. So you were saying before that I've been quoted as an educational officer in the past, and that's true. So that kind of skews the results in a way. So we take into consideration quite a few factors when we're inspecting someone and if they've committed offending. So if it's a first time sort of offence, if it's quite minor, we take the educational route and make sure they learn a good lesson and that they're more inclined to do the right thing next time they go fishing. However, there's still quite a significant amount of intentional offending out there. and it's not often truly represented within the statistics. And a lot of that is because we were so severely understaffed, we weren't able to get out and conduct as many inspections as we needed to detect this illegal level of fishing.
I've heard 84.7% of people make up their own statistics, and politics are more guilty of this than most, I believe. This article says marine parks in Victoria already show a 56% non-compliance rate. It's incomprehensible that the government would slash the number of officers responsible for protecting these areas. And it's like, that's a clear one. We were talking marine parks before. So you're saying, like, low-level offences, first-time offenders, you're inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt, give them a bit of education about why we have laws, how the laws work, how they can, in future, comply better with them and be better stewards of our sort of environment. These recidivist people, like the ones that are doing it all the time, they repeat offenders, they, infringe wherever they see an opening, basically. How do those interactions go?
Oh, quite negatively, as you could imagine. I think it's a certain personality type which have that blatant disregard for the laws and even the laws concerning our fisheries. Like, a lot of people think that it's not a real sort of offence, in the scheme of, the different types of crimes which are out there. Okay, it's probably not as serious as murder and assault in some regards, but it's still a crime and it's still going against the Victorian legislation and these measures which are in place to protect our fisheries. So, yeah, a lot of the time those sort of recidivist offenders will be looking at more serious compliance outcomes with those people just to try to cause a deterrence within the community.
Earlier, I asked you about if you could think of any states or territories or other parts of the world where they had lost their fisheries compliance officers before. And what came to mind for me was South Africa. So I did a little bit of reading and research, and I got a little bit of an overview. It says, when the South African Department of Fisheries stopped enforcing fisheries laws, it led to a decline in fish stocks, particularly in the abalone and lobster fisheries, due to rampant illegal fishing. It depleted resources to the point where sustainable catches are a fraction of what they were, impacting both the environment and the livelihoods of those who depend on the fisheries. One thing I didn't think about with illegal fishing was the impact it has on your legal fishing community. Like, even your commercial guys, like, they're not going to be able to have a livelihood if it's depleted. It's in their best interests and our best interests, recreational and commercial, to look after our fishery. And there's often, like, shortcomings with our fisheries laws and regulations. We all acknowledge that. However, we're all happy that they're there. As if it was all just a free-for-all. Unfortunately, the values of conservation and stewardship aren't as widespread as we'd like. And I mean, even if a small fraction of the people do the wrong thing, it does lead to bad outcomes for all of us. So, I mean, we need laws, we need compliance.
Yeah, we most definitely do. And, as I mentioned earlier, we've had such a high standard here in Australia for many decades, almost leading worldwide in terms of compliance and management of our fisheries. And so for this suddenly now to be exposed as a bit of a free-for-all for poaching is really concerning, because without those protective measures in place, how are we going to stop collapses of small fisheries within the state and leading to localised depletion of species? And like where I'm based here in Lakes Entrance, we've got quite a large commercial fishing sector. And there's a lot of people, their livelihoods depend on the protection and maintenance and regulation of our fisheries. So if we're exposing that to poaching and we're exposing that to overfishing from these illegal fishing syndicates, then it's going to impact people's jobs. It's going to impact people's ability to go out and recreationally fish too, which a lot of people, they can't afford sometimes to buy their own fish. So they'll choose to go out and fish themselves, whether it's from a bank or a boat. And yeah, it will cause a significant disruption to these livelihoods across the state, without a doubt.
As a Spearo, like, what comes to mind when I hear illegal fishing are, like, I often think of, the well-known grubs in our own community that we all know the names of and we all know the stories behind. And once you get tarred with the brush of being a grub, fishing in green zones, overfishing, doing the wrong thing, very hard to work your way back out of that. Like you're always that person after that. Very hard to redeem yourself. Simon Tripp, very well regarded New South Wales Spearo, president of the USFA at the moment. He said early in a podcast, he said, every time you put on a wetsuit, you're wearing a uniform and you represent every single one of us out there. You're a Spearo yourself as a fisheries officer. Were there a lot of like line fishermen and Spearos represented as fisheries officers, like in the job?
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone who was employed by the VFA in the capacity of an officer had, this experience in whether it was line fishing or spearfishing, as you said. So for them to be out in their communities too, people recognise you. Like I've worked in a small town for a long time. So if I went down the coast diving, people would recognise me, and they're always looking to me to make sure I was doing the right thing and making sure that I was, clearly advocating what I was working for, which is the protection and the sustainability of our fisheries. And I think it was really important to have that connection to the ocean and connection to our resources to fully understand and appreciate our role in society.
I think, and I shared this with you earlier, I think that like if kids can connect with fishing, whether it's land-based, rod fishing, jumping in the water, going for a snorkel, like being involved and immersed in the natural world and catching your own food, I think that's how conservationists are born. There's a school of thought that we should take away that and everything should be a marine park and everything should be locked up. I think one thing I like about fisheries management is when it's done well, the whole world points to it and goes, oh no, you can do it right. We don't have to be that, that the big bad dragon in Seaspiracy where we're just devouring everything. So I really like the fact that we have good fisheries management here. When I think about, like I was saying, like people that impinge on our laws and stuff, I always think of them as grubs. But relatively speaking, they're low-level grubs. Like maybe they're taking 20 extra lobster and selling them or something like that. I'm not going to pick on people here. I'm not standing on a pedestal. I've done the wrong thing as well in the past and found out and tried to make sure I'm doing it. But when I go a couple of steps further, there are these cartels. There's these huge organizations that profit off illegal fishing as well. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because sometimes I think we as Spearos aren't actually exposed to that. And sometimes the media doesn't even catch hold of it either.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's not just the spearfishing community or the line fishing community, it's the whole general public. So many people aren't aware of the degree of illegal fishing which is actually going on behind the scenes. And it was concerning because working in small towns as a fisheries officer and working understaffed, there was a lot of jobs that we would get reported to us by the general public just about, these sort of concerns that they were having. And so much of the time we had to turn down these potential operations purely because we weren't adequately staffed to handle that. So we've got an intelligence unit which is based in Melbourne.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, so they receive quite a lot of information all the time, and they'll run most of the operations and a lot of build up that intelligence, get the groundwork, and then us fisheries officers would be designated to tasks accordingly. But yeah, it's staggering the amount of illegal fishing out there, which is, simply put, just organised crime on a fishing level.
Mm. Yeah, as a Spearo, like you just think, if you get hold of or you catch these people in the act, you'd love to throw them under a bus, like figuratively speaking. And I guess, is there a report line for fisheries in Victoria?
Yeah, there is. It's called 13 Fish, which is 133474 is the number. But yeah, look, to build up upon that again, Isaac, we all had to take turns as fisheries officers throughout the year monitoring that line, which is a 24-hour service. So you can call in at any time and report illegal fishing. But how often we had to turn down people's requests to respond to an incident simply because we didn't have the people on the ground to respond. And it's frustrating. And the general public too, they're calling time after time to report an offence. and not getting the appropriate response. So then you lose that sort of trust within the community, and then it reflects badly upon the organisation too.
You can understand, like, we're seeing Doge over in the US at the moment, Elon Musk and his team going through the government books over there, and it's attracting a lot of criticism because they're trying to cut wasteful spending as well. And governments do get to a point where they do have to try and reduce their, overall fiscal budget because, for various reasons, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, fishing, people that are passionate about wildlife, whether it's terrestrial stuff, whether it's our national parks on land or in the water, like we do want to see them protected. And to me, like I hear 73 fisheries officers for the entire state of Victoria, and I think it doesn't sound like you're over person to there. Like, doesn't sound like you even have enough personnel as it is to do the job that you'd like to. Do you know how the funding works for fisheries? It's just allocated at a state level, but is there money, like the fines money and stuff like that? Does anyone look at to balance the book between what income comes in from licensing and fines and all that sort of stuff, as well as like commercial income and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's this sort of general state money that they've got, which they allocate to various agencies, whether it's Fire Rescue or VicPol or Victorian Fisheries Authority. You get that sort of standard amount of funding from year to year. But what was supplementing the VFA was the money which was coming through fishing licence fees. And a significant amount of that was going to be promised to recruiting new fisheries officers to fulfil those positions which have been vacant for quite some time. But there's also quite a portion of that which has been allocated to stocking of fish across the state. And this is one of the things which I've found frustrating, and also other former employees of the VFA have found quite frustrating too, is that we allocate millions of dollars a year to stocking fish. And some of that money goes to stocking non-native fish, such as trout.
Today's major sponsor, Killshot Spear Guns, have got a whole bunch of offerings you probably know nothing about. Go to killshotspearguns.com. Check out all the information there about charters, their merch, and their wicked awesome, reliable timber spear guns up at killshotspearguns.com. Dog and Gun Coffee are specialty beans sourced from the best coffee growing regions from around the world and roasted by proper coffee nerds intent on fueling outdoor nuts like you and me. Try them at dogandguncoffee.com.au and use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. That's right, use the code NOOB10 to save 10% at dogandguncoffee.com.au. Check it out, legends. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code Noob Spearo at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code Noob Spearo to save 10%.
And, the CEO of the VFA has come out and said that those stocking events they're not going to cease, they're going to continue. And that's done so that Victorians can have the best possible chance of catching a fish, which to me is pretty disappointing to hear, because having VFA officers on the ground is also a measure to ensure that people have the best possible chance of catching fish. That doesn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when someone looking at a calculator is making decisions and not someone that's a fisher person themselves, whether they're in the water or they have children fishing or whatever. Like, protecting the fishery does seem like a very important part of having a government. Like, a lot of the money, we could look at the way the government spends. We could definitely point to some other areas of more obvious waste. Protecting our fisheries doesn't seem like one of those ones. In one of these articles you sent me, it's the Phillip Island Advertiser. There's a picture on this article. It's horrendous. Like, there's about, I don't know, maybe 200 abalone laid out in front of a fisheries officer. Are these the kinds of illegal hauls that you guys come across every now and then?
Yeah, most definitely. And, this is something which actually happens quite frequently across the state, but it's not so widely reported as it has been these last few weeks, because of course there's been an uproar from the general public about these proposed cuts to fisheries officers. But this is something which would be happening every few weeks, if not months, across the state, all the way from Malakuta all the way out to Portland. There was actually an illegal haul of over 1,000 abalone just a few months ago out towards Malakuta. And it's disappointing that the VFA has had this sort of positive approach to promoting themselves over the last few years, which means that on their social medias, they haven't been disclosing any sort of illegal events which have been happening. They've been more focusing on the positive things, like little Jimmy just caught his first trout the other day. But these sorts of illegal events are happening quite regularly, and it's only just within the last few weeks that people are starting to get on board and advocate and push the message that fisheries officers are really important to try and deter these sorts of things from happening.
My mate Sven actually brought my attention to this several months ago. He had a petition up on change.org and it got 22,000 signatures. The Victorian government wouldn't allow that petition or wouldn't acknowledge it for some reason. So another person has got one up on parliament.vic.gov.au. It's called the Petition Closure of Fisheries Stations in Metro Melbourne. There's 13,000 signatures on there now. If you go to noobspearo.com/vicfish, I'm going to link this up in here today. But it doesn't sound like the person who sponsored this, by the way, is, I did have a look at it, Sam Growth. So that petition's up there at the moment. It is attracting some action, but it seems like these people in government, they need to hear quite a loud chorus of voices representing this thing. Are you feeling like the message is getting through with these petitions, that they're starting to acknowledge that recreational fishers and commercial fishers have a voice in this, and it's something that we need to be listened to because we vote too?
Yeah, like in one regard, it is really positive to see the response from everyone on social media. And I don't know if my social medias are kind of biased towards that sort of material at the moment, because I'm part of a lot of sort of fishing groups and spearfishing groups, which are based in Victoria. So I'm seeing quite a lot of that come up on my feed, which is really good for me. But for someone who's not a part of the fishing community, I'm not so sure how far the message is getting. And, in the scheme of things, 13,000 people amongst X million in Victoria, it's feeling, a little bit underwhelming. But through things like talking to you and constantly posting on social media and hoping that you get that reach, I'd still like to maintain the positive outlook that we're going to get the message across. And once that petition hits 20,000 signatures, from my understanding, it has to be heard in Parliament. So I'm really hoping that we'll get there over the coming weeks, if not days.
Cool. So guys, if you are particularly a Victorian resident, you have to be a Victorian resident to sign this one. Unfortunately, I went in to sign it myself. But go to noobspearo.com/vicfish, fill in this petition, get involved in it, share with your mates. Even if you're interstate and you know other Victorians down there, share this up, because we need to get a few more signatures on there and get this in front of some of these politicians who are making cuts in the wrong places by the sounds of it. Back to, I'd love to hear a bust you're part of, maybe a big bust if you wouldn't mind sharing. Is there a poaching bust that you can you think about and remember with, I remember in corrections, every time we had a major incident, the reminiscing that would go on after it was almost better than the actual event.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I have to try pinpoint one now. Oh, there's so many, from abalone poaching to people illegal. Quite a lot of wildlife offences. Like one of the last patrols that I was out on, we came across a lady who was shoving a couple of echidnas into the back of her car. So,
oh, wow.
But if I was going to report one, it would be one which actually, it was a few months before I'd finished up with fisheries, and I'd actually just been down for a spearfish. I was about to get in the water for a spearfish down at Cape Conran, and there was this, and I was off duty, and there was this bloke coming out of the water, and he had a couple of crayfish in his bag, catch limits too, but at this time it was close season, and he'd had quite an excessive amount of abalone as well as far too many banded moor, which are reef species that we get here in Victoria. So that was interesting, apprehending him when I was off duty, but managed to get him to put the crayfish back, the abalone back. He's just thrown some of the fish back in the water, and he's just literally just got into his car, fully wetted up, still dripping wet, and driven off. And I've got his registration details and managed to prosecute him at a later date. So that was a fun one to do outside of work hours. But yeah, I think one of the first busts that I'd done was an abalone poaching event, which is in broad daylight. And like these people had probably close to about 200 abalone. And when we went to apprehend them down on the rocks, this one guy's just kind of swum out with a bag and just ditched the abalone into the water. And it was a bit of a mess having to drag him out of the water and handcuff him. And but that was a memorable one. That was, interesting. It always, all these different busts, they've got their little nuances, and memories stay with you for a while.
Yeah. It's not like you take pleasure in getting people in trouble, but I mean, what you got to realize is they've got themselves in trouble. Like, and if they're doing it, like, if you got 200 abalone, I'm sorry, you're not for real. Like, you're just evidently you're a proper grub.
There was one instance too a few years ago out eastern Victoria as well, and I was working undercover on this particular day, and this bloke's just come back in, pulled his boat into the boat ramp, and he's in the car park. He's just doing up his trailer and everything, and I just went over and had a chat to him. I was in plain clothes, and he had no idea as a fisheries officer, and he's bragging to me about the 12 gummy shark that he's caught, and he'd been out fishing by himself, and you're only allowed to have, I don't know, just completely forgotten, 5 gummy sharks. Oh, sorry, 2 gummy sharks. Excuse me. Been out of it for a while. And anyway, he's just there gloating about it. And the look on his face, and I pulled out my badge and said, actually, a fisheries officer, I'm going to conduct an inspection on you now. And I've never seen someone's mood change so quickly. That was a funny incident.
Good stuff. It's good to hear people doing the wrong thing and intentionally doing it, getting their just desserts, I think. Hopefully.
Yep.
Do you think some of these people learn?
Oh, I think there's a lot of people out there who have the capacity and willing to learn. And then there's some people, like I said earlier, they just got this blatant disregard for authority and for doing the right thing, and they just want to do whatever strokes their ego, I suppose. And if that means that they're on a hot bite, and, look, I'm king fisher, I just, I can catch as many fish as I want, sort of thing. It's disappointing behaviour and doesn't set a great example in society, but it's good when you catch those people out.
Mm. If you had one more message for the spearing community about this particular issue, I want to move on and ask you a couple more questions. Is signing that petition the best call to action for people to help out?
Oh, it's really hard to say. If you're someone who's not involved in the fishing community, I'd say so, definitely. If you're someone who's really, really passionate about the cause, like myself, writing to your local MP is a really good thing to do. It's a really great step in the right direction. Just holding our local politicians accountable for what's going on, especially in lieu of an upcoming election. I think this is going to be a major talking point over the next few months for politicians and stakeholders across Victoria too. So commercial fishermen, recreational fishermen, and those who are concerned about the future of conservation in Victoria. So making it clear to your MPs what you want and what you want to see from our government is a great step.
Have you got a template? Because I've written my local member about a few things and I have actually got a response. So I know it does work. I think they are obligated to an extent to respond, particularly if you're one of their constituents. And quite often, it's very easy to find out who your local member of parliament is, and they've all got widely publicised contact details. But if you have an email template, do you have one, like a couple of paragraphs on why this issue is important and why they should respond to it? Is there something I can include in the show notes maybe?
Yeah, of course. I'll send you an email of my copy, which I've addressed to my local MP. And if you're happy to share that, that'd be really great. And people can use that. They copy it verbatim if they want to. Just change the name of the MP.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes you can just take a template. We don't all have a lot of time, but literally takes like 5 minutes to dash up a quick email, add a few personal points like why it's important to you, and send it off. They do get results. Like, and if they get 5 of those emails from people in their little electorate, like it does move the needle, I think. So yeah.
Yep, most definitely.
So go to noobspearo.com/vicfish. I'll link that up again. So there will be that petition, a couple of articles about this issue, and then I'll have Christine's email template for you guys. I want to move on, Christine.
Yeah, sure.
I know you're a passionate Spearo as well. I wanted to ask you, maybe we could do a lighter moment first. I mean, have you had anything funny happen to you while you're out spearfishing? You've listened to the podcast, so you know what I'm shooting for here.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, in the moment, probably being shot on by a dolphin on a bait ball was, interesting. But one particular memory, and it was funny. I don't know if it was funny or concerning, but in hindsight, it's something to reflect on. But many years ago, I was out spearfishing with a very good friend of mine, who's very much my spearfishing mentor. And we were at a particular island in the southwest of Victoria, which I didn't realise at the time, but it's quite notorious for whites. And we'd been out this day, kind of just targeting anything, but we were diving for crayfish in about maybe 12 metres of water. And a really small school of southern bluefin tuna zoomed through, and a little while later they circulated back again. And so my friend, he said, I'll jump in the boat, you hold the gun, I'll tow you behind the boat. And if you see a tuna, just drop down and shoot it. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. But then I found out retrospectively that it's, quite a sharky area. And so what's come to mind is, I'm sure you've seen those videos over in South Africa of them trolling something which looks like a seal behind the boat. And so, I think about that quite often and go, well, that probably wasn't the greatest thing to have done, but I'm still here to talk about it.
Those things are crazy. Like you see a ton of shark just like launching itself out of the water. That would be a fairly fast but unpleasant last memory in life, I'm sure.
It would be. And one that I'm glad that I haven't experienced. But other than that, pretty benign for me.
Dolphin shit in a bait ball is pretty cool.
It's very cloudy.
My friend said to ask you about how hard it is to land big fish in Victoria. I take it you've had a go at a few southern bluefin.
Yeah, my biggest is 20 kilos, which is a couple of years ago. And I've been out a few times on the tuna since then. And they're my favourite species to target. Fortunately for me, I haven't had any issues with seals or sharks when trying to land tuna, but I know of a few people who have. And those Australian fur seals, they can be quite vicious and they can really challenge the best of divers and best of Spearos. But just from my experience, I can't say I've had a huge amount of issues.
Is it more like you go out and you think you're going to target them because you've heard that they're on, and then you're looking around for surface action with the southern bluefin, and then that's your patient. And I guess on those days you're having more days where they're not there than they are there. Is that probably more of the problem?
Yeah, like what you think looks like a promising sign. It's all well and good until you jump into the water and the fish just aren't there, or they're sitting really deep. There's been instances where you jumped in the water underneath a single bird sitting on the surface, and there's a big school underneath. So it's pretty hit and miss in that regard. The tuna are definitely easier to target than the kings. From my experience, kingfish can be pretty temperamental here in Victoria, as a lot of Spearos would know. But in terms of big fish, those are sort of the bigger ones that we get that the locals will target.
What's your best kingy?
I haven't shot one.
Aye.
No, I've shot at them. Yeah. And there's one fish in particular I'll never forget.
Go to aqualite.com.au. Cheaper and healthier than any other sports drinks on the market. Aqualite will make a difference in your spearfishing. Check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code Noob Spearo to save 10% on any order. Check it out. Aqualite, made in Western Australia. any of the Honky Outdoors shakers will see you right and add just that extra layer of subtle goodness to your brine. Salt-based, squealer, or double shot all work on smoked fish. Check them out at honkyoutdoors.com, HOHNKE outdoors.com. Use the code Noob Spearo to save 20%. Upgrade your seafood game with honkyoutdoors.com. Check it out. Another massive part of the Killshot Spear Guns family is depth charge charters. They don't just make functional and simple, reliable spear guns. These guys also bring amazing freedive spearfishing charters to the waters around the Florida Keys, particularly around the reefs of Isla Morada. If you are looking to do a freediving course or get out on a spearfishing charter in that part of the world, check it out at killshotspearguns.com and check out depth charge charters.
Diving out of Barwon Heads down here and jumped into on what I thought was tuna. And it was in a school of kingfish, and they were great fish. And it was only quite a small school, maybe 15 individuals. And I was using my friend's massive barrel gun because we're targeting tuna. And the fish were circling me so close, I couldn't actually take a proper shot at them. They were way too close range. And by the time I waited for the fish to kind of move a bit further apart and create a bit of distance, was very much at the end of my breath hold and just took a fleeting shot, which sailed over the back of a big kingy, and still gives me nightmares to this day. But I shot at them.
I think that's like the Hail Mary, the ones that you miss too. The other ones that sort of keep you coming back and like thinking about the situation, the scenario, and you can't wait to sort of make amends for your mess.
Yeah, I was just lucky I shot a tuna after that. Otherwise, it would have been an absolute mess when I got home. I was devastated. But yeah, I still think about it.
With your spearfishing journey, what's the biggest thing you've struggled with?
I struggle with bad visibility, like personally. Like I feel like I just can't quite relax as much as I do in good fizz. And, here in Victoria, it's quite notorious for pretty shitty conditions most of the year round. So just learning to relax and just take it easy, just take it like I would normally in clearer conditions. I think, it's just something with me. I've always been a bit wary of murky water, just since I was a little girl. Just one of those things from just
the unknown.
Yeah, I found the unknown, but I just stood on so many crabs when I was younger because I haven't been able to see where my feet were, and I'm a bit gun shy of that, and that's just kind of carried through with me as an adult. But yeah, because mainly if I'm offshore diving in teens anyway, so there's always a bit more comfortable like that. But the occasions where I've been like shore diving by myself and it's been murky, I just found it hard to really get into the zone.
So what's your self-talk? I mean, what have you got any like mental tricks for helping you just to sort of settle into it a little bit?
I think just enjoying it because I love being in the water so much. The water's a big part of my life and has been for, so many years. So I just have to just kind of slow it down and just be appreciative of the fact that I get to go out and do these things that I love and spend time in the water in the capacity that I do.
What's the fish or the hunt that you're most proud of?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably not so impressive, but
It's only got to be impressive to you.
it was impressive to me. It was King George whiting, which I actually claimed the women's state record for maybe about a year ago.
Yeah.
And this is an ocean whiting out of Cape Conran, and, beautiful fish. You get some really big, fat King George whiting hanging around there, and they're often just hanging around as individuals. It's very much like a sort of cat and mouse game with King George whiting. They're quite a skittish fish, and the better the visibility, like with quite a few different species, the more flighty the fish is. So, in this particular day, it was just taking my time, really kind of trying to hone in on my breath hold and just sitting down, playing the waiting game. And then the fish has finally come out from behind a bit of reef, and I stoned it, and I was stoked because I'd probably spent about half an hour on that fish.
Okay.
And I was so determined, and I was, happy to get it in the end.
What did it end up weighing?
Oh, I think it wasn't much, maybe about 360 grams. It's about 43 centimetre fish.
Okay, nice.
But, I was happy with it. It tasted good.
Yeah, sick. No, that's cool. I always think like comparison is the thief of joy. You know, when you stack up your most proudest catch versus someone else's, it always appears less than. But to you, like it's like there's these marks that we leave in our history that we're proud of. Like it's not really about what we put up on Instagram or anything like that. It's a personal sense of achievement because you know what you've done to put yourself in that position and capture that fish. We try to get it with the photos that we put on Instagram, but it never quite actually does it, I reckon.
No, that's it. But yeah, I was happy that day. Yeah. It was good to nail the King George whiting. I'd shot a couple before that one, but this one was just, yeah, I couldn't leave it alone. I wasn't getting out of the water without it.
Cool. And you're an artist and a muso as well, my research tells me.
Oh, I've got to keep myself entertained somehow.
You do a lot of marine art as well, though, don't you? Like species-based stuff. Like, is it all like organism-based? Like, is it all like vertebrates or invertebrates? Is it all like creatures, or do you do scenes or?
Oh, when I first started painting many years ago when I was younger, I was very much a landscape artist and loved painting oceans or like sort of mountainscapes. And then, probably about 10 years ago, I started to transition into focusing on more on the marine environment and in particular fish. Like I was just really interested in fish. I'd started scuba diving when I was 15 and just loved being in the water, loved and appreciated all the different species and their little personalities and things like that. So I focused definitely a lot more on fish art over the last few years, and it's good. I find it sort of therapeutic in the way to zone out at the end of a day outside of work. And I just really love fish. I think they're awesome.
Where can people find your art? Is it online?
Just on Instagram at the moment. I'm just working on a website, but I'm just building up a bit more work because the style of work I do is stippling art. So it takes, sometimes it takes months just to produce a bit of work. So I'm definitely not a full-time artist. It's very much a side gig that I do. And it takes a lot of time and effort, but I'm currently working on a few different pieces, and the plan is to have an exhibition locally at the end of the year.
Cool.
And showcase all the work.
So guys, if you're going to Instagram, Watterson Artistry, I'm going to link it up in today's show notes. Again, noobspearo.com/vicfish. I see you run art workshops there down at Lakes Entrance as well.
I've just done one, and it was something which was proposed to me a few months ago to be part of the Hooked on Lakes Entrance Festival. And I thought, you know what, why not? So I had a few hours there where people came and stopped by the workshop, and I showed them how to go through the stippling effect and how to draw up a fish so that you get all the ratios within proportion. And it was like, I didn't realise how much people loved it and how popular it was. So that was really great. So I'll be doing something like that again in the near future for sure.
So this effect that Christine's talking about, if you go to Watterson Artistry on Instagram, you'll see she does do vertebrates and invertebrates. There's a really cool one there of a southern rock lobster. There's octopus, there's seahorse, there's all sorts of stuff here. I like it. It's very cool. I'd love to hang some of that on my wall. So if you send me a bit for free, that'd be great.
Oh, play your cards right. Might be inclined to.
I'm just joking. No, that's very cool. So, Christine, I've had a blast chatting with you. It's really cool to talk about the state of this proposed cut, like to the fisheries department down there for Victoria's, the VFA. So I'm glad I could get you on and highlight the issue a bit more, get a few more people, get their attention on it, get them thinking about it and taking action. Because Spearos that listen to this podcast particularly are not an apathetic bunch. They do. I mean, we've got to back each other up too. We're only such a small little lifestyle, So if we can just bring a bit more attention to this issue, that it will affect all of us. I think it's only for the good. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Isaac. I really appreciate you using this platform to convey this message. It's really important to me, but important to all Victorians.
Go to cobgrill.com.au, use the code NoobSpearo10 to get 10% off site-wide at cobgrill.com.au. It's 304 grade stainless steel. It's also small at only 40 centimetres by 40 centimetres, but big enough to do a 2 kilogram roast. You could even cook up some hyena bloody haunches if you wanted to. So it gets the job done without taking up too much room. Super compact cooker. You can do it all. Check it out, cobgrill.com.au. Use the code Noob Spearo 10 when you spend $400 or more at cobgrill.com.au. Check it out. Oh, magic cookers. Your mates will thank you. Check it out, cobgrill.com.au. Jump in a 50-day program to make the most. If you are 2 months out from that trip of a lifetime, let me encourage you. Get Spear Ready. Go to noobspearo.com/Spear Ready. Sometimes the Noob Spearo almost has more information, more topics, more podcasts than you know what to do with. I'm here to help you connect in a really simple way, particularly if you are brand new. You need to subscribe to Noob Spearo's mad email newsletter. It's called The Floater. Go to noobspearo.com, head up into the menu community, head down to subscribe to The Floater, and start getting some goodness in your inbox right now. All good, my friends. Check it out, noobspearo.com, menu community, head down to subscribe to The Floater. I'll see you there.
Hey, Legend, hope you enjoyed that podcast with Christine. A shorty today. But again, go to noobspearo.com/vicfish. Get involved, get amongst it, tell some people about it. We need to get active. We need to be part of this thing. I know you guys aren't an apathetic bunch. You get in, roll your sleeves up, and do the work when it's needed. A short 5-minute email, even just telling your mates about issues like this, draw attention to it, and they give us a voice. And if we don't use it, then we lose it, And thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. Hey, also wanted to just say thank you to you guys on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're even on bloody TikTok. We're getting amongst it on there. Thanks for just sharing the love, getting involved in there in the comments. It's nice to talk and engage with you guys. Sam the Waterman, shout out to him running our Instagram, doing a fantastic job. He's an absolute legend of a man. And Hey, the 1770 spearfishing retreat up in central Queensland. I've got one in September, selling well. It's the second one I put up. I think there's only 5 spots left. So get in there and get amongst it if you're into it. And as usual, thanks to the Patreon listeners putting fuel in the Noob Spearo podcast, Noob Spearo podcast outboard every week. Go to patreon.com/Noob Spearo if you would like to chip in on a month-by-month basis. You can do so for as little as $3 a month, and you get an exclusive email with one unique seafood dish, one actionable tip, and generally a deep discount on a bit of Noob Spearo merch. So check that out, patreon.com/Noob Spearo. Thanks, legends. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in 1 week for another absolute frother. Hey, do you want me to tell you what it is? You know what? Next week, we're back to chat with Central Coast speargun maker Stephen Montgomery from Bombora Spearguns. Recommended by the boys down there. Josh Ward actually put me on to Stephen, and it's a cool episode. We have a real good chat about making spearguns, timber choice, everything. Max, you name it, we get into it with Stephen. So I'll see you back in a week for that one. All right, with Bombora Spearguns. See you guys.
This episode brought to you by Astard Roller Pole Spears. Astard is a brand rooted in craftsmanship and tradition, inspired by the Japanese freedivers, the Armour. Their logo, a hand-drawn star, symbolizes starting from a single point, exploring and returning safely, capturing the essence of their journey and design philosophy. Founded by Adam, who spent 15 years in southern Japan, but originally from West Australia. He has a background in aviation, digital, and photography. And him and his lifelong friend Kim, and a mechanical genius herself, founded Astard, which embodies a passion for quality, innovation, and versatility. Check them out at astard.co. They have a roller pole spear that will make your head spin. I'll give you the hot tip. Check it out at astard.co. Use the code Noob Spearo. Have free shipping anywhere on the planet. You can't get any better than that. Go to astard.co. Check out their roller pole spear. You need one in your arsenal today. Check it out. Use the code Noob Spearo for free shipping anywhere in the world. Some days when you've maybe shot those 4 or 5 fish that you came for, might be time to pull out the pole spear, jump back in and rediscover that passion and learning that you had right at the start of your journey. This is one of the best tools for becoming a better hunter. Check it out, astard.co. Are you US based, looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website, so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends, and if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right, use the code NOOB10, NOOB10 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's Noob Spearo podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code Noob Spearo to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom.